Next, we're going to be taking a look at how to handle bidders. So let's go ahead and click at View and Edit. And this gives you a familiar screen. If you've looked at some of the other videos, every screen essentially looks the same, has the same kind of features. We can click New Bidder, and this allows us to put in bidder information. And so when you consider your numbers, consider your numbers not overlapping. So if you can have your bidder numbers separate from the numbers that you're using for your actual auction items, that's great. If you can't, that's fine. It really doesn't make that much difference, but it does allow you to keep them separate so that you don't ever enter a bidder number or an item number when you didn't mean to enter that particular one. So you want to keep your bidder numbers usually lower than maybe your item numbers. It doesn't always have to be that way, but in general, it's a little better practice. It allows people to have a simpler bidder number than maybe maybe you'd even want to put your item numbers up into thousands if you had several hundred people attended. So in this case, we'll do Forrest Gump here, or actually maybe Inigo Montoya. Forrest Gump's probably good. And I think I spelled this wrong. Put 2 R's in there. And then if they're invited by someone, again, these fields, the only 2 fields that are required are really these 2. The number in the party, so like let's say there's maybe 2 people. If you're tracking the total number of folks that are going to attend, this is really helpful if it's let's say a husband and wife or something like that, you can do this. If you're tracking check-in, if you've tracked who you've sold tickets to in advance, you can use this to show whether they've come. And then if you are doing paid tickets, you can check this box. One thing we've noticed with paid tickets is that sometimes people think by buying a ticket, if the tickets are relatively inexpensive, that they've kind of made their donation, and then they actually don't show up, which is kind of an interesting thing that happens there. So just be careful if you do that. Oftentimes, if you're just having a dinner or something like that, they will have a ticket price to offset the cost of the actual event, so that you can what you make from the auction is profit, and doesn't have to go to pay for the price of whatever's served or the venue and those kinds of things. Again, there's lots of ways to do this. There isn't necessarily a right answer, but those are some of the things you can think about. Spot to put their email address, and then just basic mailing information. This just records the basic stuff. And if we hit save, I now have an item, a bidder. So this is bidder number 3. I can go in and edit that and change to whatever I want to have it be. So I can then click print, and this is where you can print the bidder card. Now this does kind of looks horrible, but what we can do is when we click print, we have to make one change in order to make it look right. And instead of doing portrait, we're going to do landscape. And this will print on 2 pages. And what you'll see is you'll have this main page, which has the 2 colors for your auction, which you can set on the other page to different colors. You're going to see the bidder number, the actual bidder name down here. So this is something they could hold up during the auction. And then just information about your auction. So in this case, you want to check the 2-sided button, and under more settings, you want to make sure that the 2-sided and the background graphics are checked. Scale is at 100%. And when you print this out 2-sided, they will get this nice little bidder packet that you can then fold in half, and it'll have their bidder number and everything on the outside that they can use to bid for the live auction. And then they'll have a list of what all the auction items are on the inside that they can actually use. So this is nice. Again, you don't have to use this. This is one way to do it. A lot of folks just hand out some kind of a paddle, and that's just a totally fine way to do it as well. This just does give you this if you want to utilize this particular feature. If we click back, we can then go back to the list. Again, this does filter and sort, and you can do searches and things like that. If you want to print all the bidder cards at one time, if you know who's coming in advance, you can do that and just print off however many there are all at one time. If you want to edit, you can click here. If you want to delete, you can click here.